My mic wasn't on. Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing tonight? A lot going on today. A lot going on around the country and around the world. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Nana. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Tori and Tim. Hi, Richard, Sabrina, Karen, Danette, Jeff, Richard, Sandra, Donna. How you guys all doing tonight? Hi, Elena. Hi, Mark. Please hit the share button if you're in here and hit that thumbs up button. Please only hit it once so it actually stays on because reactions don't happen multiple times anymore. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, Tia. How you guys all doing tonight? Biden is definitely a crook, and last night we watched that speech. It was a disaster. Literally dividing the country more than ever, and we see the fallout from today that has happened so far. Just ridiculousness. Just absolutely ridiculous. Not only that, we have, of course, a lot going on in the country today, besides just the fallout from Biden's catastrophic speech of dividing the nation. Leaving aside the debacle, the diabolical staging, which means to somehow turn Independence Hall into a timeless lever of aesthetics into a nightmare scene, leaving aside the presence of two carefully placed U.S. Marines, which had the president in front of them. Just ridiculous. It is ridiculous as this whole speech, as his fists were clenched, and he was shouting his whole unholy, unwarranted, overconfident speeches about, of course, what happened, and it's just ridiculous. He's dressed like a Disney villain. It's just ridiculous. I mean, trillions of dollars being spent this year ridiculously and wastefully, as we know. I mean, Biden is now requesting another $11.7 billion for Ukraine aid and another $22 billion for COVID. At the same time, the House, Pelosi herself, is looking for $47 billion for Ukraine for COVID, monkeypox, and other disasters that are in Ukraine. Oh my goodness, it's just ridiculous. It looked like a satanic scene. It looked like they were going to ritualizely kill somebody. Everybody should be fed up. The speech last night was nothing more than a total division of this country. As today, more utility companies are having to lock thermostats to 90 degrees in Colorado, California, a lot of other states, as the emergency energy, because the grid system is really at its weakest point. We have failing water infrastructure, failing power infrastructure, failing bridges. I mean, what's next? What is next? We are not a third world country, but it is happening to become one right now. Yeah, they've only spent $70 billion of the $350 billion from COVID. The rest of the money they've actually spent, just not on COVID, giving themselves, of course, government salaries and bonuses and everything else. And every time you turn around, but watching this power grid failure after we know what happened in Jackson, Mississippi, and there are a whole bunch of other little tiny counties and states all across the country now have had water crises. Now the electric crisis is becoming so bad that they don't want any electrical vehicles even tried to charge through Labor Day weekend in California. But yet California is going to be totally electric vehicles by 2035. Come on. You got states locking thermostats to 90 degrees. 90 degrees is not a temperature that is even respectable in any place. But Biden, of course, wants to send money to Ukraine instead of worry about the U.S. infrastructure. Send us another $11.7 billion in emergency funding to provide lethal aid to support Ukraine, and then another $22.4 billion for COVID relief ahead of the potential fall case surge in the United States. This is what Biden's requested right now, today, as of today. The emergency funding request also includes $2 billion to address the impact of the war in Russia and Ukraine as U.S. energy supplies for U.S. energy supplies. So, more money to refill what? To do what with? Not only that, the House today is putting in a request for $47 billion for Ukraine for COVID, monkeypox, and the disaster that are happening over there. The House and Congress are asking for $47.1 billion in emergency funding to cover expended costs for Ukraine for COVID, monkeypox, and natural disasters. The administration hopes that the funding request will be part of an upcoming short-term spending bill aimed at funding the government beyond September 30th, which the current spending package is set to expire. Yes, we've already overspent our budget by over $2 trillion that we budgeted for, and it wasn't even a full year's budget. September 30th, this budget runs out. So this is the big question, is how much money are we going to spend on another country without even worrying about our own country's grid security, water infrastructure, and other issues that we're facing here in America? Let's get this right. What country do we live in? What country is paying the taxes, and who should be getting the benefits? Sorry to say, but I hate seeing when benefits go to other countries and we don't even have what we need here. It is ridiculous. A large portion of the funding request of the $22.4 billion is in COVID funding to directly send stockpiles of vaccine and tests, as well as research and development in Ukraine. This just makes me sick. It literally makes me sick. Of course, a part with that $11.7 billion is including $7.2 million in military-related costs, $5.4 billion in direct economic support. They also want Congress to provide $1.5 billion for uranium for U.S. nuclear reactors in the case where reduction in Russian supplies of uranium. Hillary Clinton's the one that sold our uranium to Russia. I don't know if you guys remember that. This is getting so deep. $500 million to work on the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. What reserve? We don't have anything left in it. Oh my goodness. So, of course, they want the last bill approved in May was worth about $40 billion. Now we're talking another ridiculous amount of money, $47 billion, going to Ukraine again. We already spent over $97 billion in Ukraine, another 47 to go and drop in the bucket. As Russia cuts off its natural gas and all gas exports to Europe indefinitely. Russia has now cut its ties to Europe fully and 100%. Russia will not be resuming exports of natural gas to Europe through its Nord Stream pipeline 1, worsening a shortage that threatens to tip the continent into an energy crisis this winter. We already knew this was coming. Nobody else could see it. They just thought, Russia's not going to do that. They're just going to keep letting us fund and put weapons in Ukraine and keep them fighting there the whole time and not do anything about it. They are doing something about it. They are now choking off the power supply for Europe. Nobody thought that would happen, right? I mean, if you had common sense, you might. Because common sense would tell you, you do something to somebody, they're going to do something back. But no, that would never happen. Putin would never do such a thing. Come on. These people, government research and these government think tanks haven't figured out what Russia's plan is yet. Wait till winter. Watch what happens. Ukraine will be overrun quickly and quietly. as Europe, of course, is going to have the worst energy crisis this winter, including we will as well. We already know that. That's why Biden's requesting money for our energy crisis that's coming. I mean, to not resume flow on any natural gas or oil, it's going to be a huge problem. Yeah, UK's power is going to go up a lot more than 81% by October 1st. This is just today this happened. It was projected an 81% increase prior to this happening, without this happening. So now we're talking 35% of all Europe's gas imports, 35% are cut off immediately, which means that they're a negative flow. They literally have not enough to keep going, period. It's just ridiculous watching this. I mean, and we're trying to supply natural gas to Europe right now. So we're shipping massive amounts of natural gas to Europe. So come this winter, we won't have our stockpile of the natural gas. Our fuel reserves, luckily we're not pulling any more from the reserves now, because as of the 1st, the fuel reserves have been cut off, and we're no longer pumping our reserves into our supply chain. But now those reserves are trying to be filled back up. But the problem is we're not going to have the reserves of natural gas. We don't have the reserves of petroleum. Refineries can only produce what they're producing now because they're at 97% efficiency, because it's midsummer months and those are the most efficient months. When we start getting to cooler months, the efficiency of those refineries drop drastically. We're not getting pre-processed fuel into China from China because we're not buying it. We're sanctioning China for that. Same with Russia. So what does that leave us? It leaves us at a hard point with low power already and grid issues, showing drastic issues within the power grid. If we have the problem with our grid system is a smart grid. You've seen what happened to Texas. They had a part of their grid fail, and the whole grid kept going in and out. With our smart grid, though, one part of our grid fails, the whole grid starts to collapse by trying to redistribute power to that part of the grid. So if they don't have enough energy and the grid decides to redistribute it, we're in big trouble, especially when freezing temperatures, people running out of heating oil or heating gas. How are they going to keep their homes warm this winter? And expecting a hard winter at that. Yeah, Littlewood heater is a good thing. I mean, the unprecedentedness of these natural gas crises in Europe is just drastic. As Russia cuts the supplies, I mean, literally a drastic cut from supplies for natural gas, because they were receiving producing energy of 1,760,000,000 kilowatts a day. Now they're down to less than, what was today's production? 706 million kilowatts. That's what they produce today. And it's going to drop off. I mean, oh, wait, no. Today was only 346 million kilowatts is what they produce today. Because they don't have natural gas and they don't have oil. Literally. Europe's looking at trying to reopen some of the coal power plants that have been shut down for years to even keep power on this winter. Today's power produced in Europe was less than 1 billion kilowatts, or 1.3 kilowatts less than it was 6 months ago. Heck, even 5 months ago. It shows a big problem. Backup generator is great, but if you don't have gasoline, you can't fill it. So, yeah. We pay for it, we provide it, but we don't get it. This is a crazy concern. I mean, their power production is so far down. They don't have natural gas for heating. Luckily, right now, they're not needing much heat. They're only a month or two away before really cold temperatures start to set up in Europe. And that's a concern for Europe. But what about the rest of the world? I mean, the second largest steel manufacturing or steel maker closed down. It closed today. As of today, it's officially closed. It's in Europe. The world's second largest refinery for steel. It's the latest in industry companies, of course, announcing plant closures in Europe due to soaring gas prices and energy prices. But it's two major blast furnaces at the steelworks in, of course, Bremen, Germany, are off until further notice. Major steel production, and that means for the world, not us. That's everybody. It's just negative impact for the overall economic outlook. I mean, you don't have steel, you can't produce vehicles, you can't produce a lot of things. And they don't just smelt steel there, they also smelt aircraft aluminum, which is very hard to produce and get exactly right for aircraft quality standards. So that's going to be another problem coming up. Just wait. And China, of course, repeatedly simulating attacks on U.S. warships right now. Not just once, it has been repetitively doing it all day long. The U.S. Navy, of course, routinely is sailing through the region of China, claimed its sovereignty over. But of course, China right now is in the middle of war games with Russia and several other ex-Russian parties or ex-Soviet Union parties. They're in a massive war games right now. And they're playing war like they're ready to fight the U.S. This is a problem. I mean, the ongoing military drills which surround Taiwan and the simulating an invasion. Of course, now more ballistic missiles are planned to be fired over the island and warplanes sent across Taiwan's airspace. Right across the country of Taiwan now, not just across the corner. It's just sad. It is sad. The state of America is falling apart. And it's not happening because the good people, the strong-hearted people in America don't want it. It's happening because literally we have these bozos in office. We're funding stuff that's not going to do anything better. The world is falling apart. China is getting ready to attack Taiwan at any time now. If you don't see it, the writing's on the wall. Like we said when Russia was surrounding Ukraine. It's going to happen, but when, we don't know. But it's coming soon. You don't amass 600 warships for war games around a country that you plan on invading in the first place. Yeah, I know Facebook's putting ads up during my live. I don't get paid for ads. It's just ridiculous. I can't do anything about Facebook doing that. I really can't. I've already told Facebook I don't want the ads. One good thing, though, Kansas, good old Kansas, a teacher who was suspended after she refused to use students' preferred pronouns, their court system has found that the teacher was in the right, and she got awarded $95,000 in the lawsuit. And she was reprimanded and suspended for only 3 days last year for addressing a student by their legal and enrolled last name. There's nothing wrong with that. Teachers should only address people by their names. I am so glad that Kansas courts found that the teacher was in the right and that schools should have never suspended her and awarded her $95,000. She deserves it. And this is what's going right in America. This is what should be happening. When somebody does the right thing and the school system decides to do the wrong thing because they're a woke agenda, the court should step in and make sure that the school system knows that they were in the wrong. It's just sickening to me. It is sickening to watch what's happening in America as stuff falls apart because we want to be a woke nation. It's not helping. And of course, the G7 nations, you gotta, I don't know how to explain this to you guys, but the G7 nations plan to implement a price cap on Russian oil and petroleum products. I don't know how they got the idea that they were in charge of how much Russia could charge for oil and gas, but Russia could charge however much they want. People have to pay for it to get it. Russia's not giving it away for free. I mean, come on. I think this is hilarious that the finance ministry from the G7 nation is even having a meeting about planning to implement price caps on Russian oil and petroleum products. It's ridiculous. It's literally a joke. All Russia has to say is, we're not going to sell it to you then. Obviously, they don't want to sell it to them anyways. They cut off natural gas to an entire Europe, all of Europe, more than just one country. It's not just one country they cut off several countries by cutting off Europe. And now the G7 is going to decide that they're going to have a cap of what Russia can charge for oil and petroleum products. Time out. That ain't happening. It's going to make, of course, the market a lot more strict and a lot less for people to actually have. It's just sad. Of course, hurricane season is up and going. We have Hurricane Danielle that formed in the Atlantic heading out to sea, though. Nothing to worry about there. We have another hurricane that's coming, though, should be heading into Florida or Georgia area later this week. It's still a development, but it's expected to develop within the next 24 to 48 hours. We still have an invest way out next to Africa coming in. So hurricane season is started officially. We actually got one. I still can't believe the speech I heard last night by Biden. Amongst everything that's happening in America, our president basically declared war on half of American citizens without declaring war. But his speech was more confrontational than the speech given before the Civil War happened. Before that address of the nation happened, before the Civil War, was less confrontational than what he said last night. So is it a direct confrontation or direct calling of arms? Is that what he did last night? Did he call people to arms? And should that be addressed by Congress directly and immediately? I mean, he didn't just hung up on Trump. I mean, he's hung up on anybody that's Republican, basically calling us all white supremacists last night, live to the nation. Now, I'm an independent, but I consider myself a independent leaning Republican because there is no chance I would vote for a Democrat at this point ever. If they're not going to enforce the constitutionality for the country, they're no longer the party of my choice, or never will be. I'm a constitutionalist first and foremost, and that's how I vote. We are not a democracy. We are a republic. We are a nation governed on a document that stops the government from being overpowering and overbearing. But yet we have more laws than most other nations. In fact, I think any other nation at this point. You probably commit at least one felony a day, but you don't even know it's on the books. That's the problem we have in America. Our Constitution was written to stop that from ever happening, but yet it's happened here. And it's happening more and more every day. The more we let it happen, the more it's going to keep coming down the pipeline that way. It's just shocking, but that's the way it is. Of course, Biden is saying U.S. jobs look so good, the job gains or the job growth, because there's so many open jobs right now. But yet, in order to get those jobs, you got to have like 3 degrees because they got to pay you a minimum of $25 an hour or whatever. And these companies want ridiculous things. Nobody's talking about that. McDonald's wants a fucking bachelor's degree now. Sorry about the language, but that is ridiculous to me. If you require a bachelor's degree, not an associate's degree, but a bachelor's degree, to go work at McDonald's, there is a serious issue in this country. A serious fundamental issue. Because McDonald's employees want to get paid $15 an hour, they're going to require them to have a bachelor's degree and be available at any hours that they want them? No. Our country's falling apart because idiocracy is stemmed from the very beginning. And it's growing. Idiocracy is growing. I mean, look at the actual employment rate in America and the percentage of Americans working, and it's the lowest percentage in history, including the Great Depression. Now, that should tell you where our country is actually heading. It's scary. It's scary. Of course, we have an X-class event that might be coming to or heading towards Earth from the sun, X-class solar flare. We're watching that. Of course, I'll give you updates on that tomorrow night. We should have more information by tomorrow night. It hasn't left the sun yet, but it looks like the sunspot will emerge and will release an X-class event here in the next couple days. So we are watching closely with that. God bless you guys. God bless America. We got to hold on tight and keep going while we can. If you guys can support the channel, please do. We definitely appreciate it. The best way to support right now is to actually go to our pinned post on our page. We have a wish list for Amazon for hurricane supplies, for hurricane relief for people around America. Because storms are coming, and we know we'll be handing out a lot of supplies to help people in need. But it's crazy. Facing crazy times, crazier place. But God bless you and have a wonderful night.